Hi everybody, welcome back to the Kids Health Revolution Kitchen, where we are cooking up a revolution in our kids' health, one simple but really tasty recipe at a time. So we are back this week after a little holiday that I took with my family. We went off and visited Spain and made a few dreams come true for my little guy with seeing his favorite team. I know lots of people have mentioned that their kids are into soccer as well. So yeah, that was a pretty big thrill, and traveling around Spain was pretty easy, I have to say, in terms of food and being able to stay on track and in eating well and eating in a gut healthy way. Lots of Mediterranean style restaurants where we could eat vegetables and meat and fish, and it was really beautiful. So if you're looking for a place to go that you can travel and explore and have a really great time and still stay on track in terms of what you're doing with your diet and your gut health, then that is a really good place to go. Mostly I'd say, we experienced really good food in the northern, that's where we were, so that's what I can tell you. I know that they have really, really good food there. So there you go. And today we are making a really delicious recipe of a flax bread. So we're doing flax bread sticks. You don't have to make them sticks. It's a bit more labor intensive. It's sort of fun for the kids, and especially if you've got a picky eater and they're just transitioning over into a gut healthy diet, making some of these fun shapes and things can be a really good way to get them to engage with the food. But if you're not there and you just want to make them into little rounds or even a little loaf, that works perfectly well as well. So I'm going to show you both of those things today. And I want to make sure that I mention that if you want to get a printed, like a copy of this that you can print out or just have and save on your computer, like a written recipe, you can certainly get that. All you need to do is join the Kids Health Revolution community. Totally free, no strings attached. You just go and put your email address in over at kidshealthrevolution.com, and then I will send you the recipes right to your inbox each week. And as well, we have this wonderful private Facebook group going in the community with really great parents who are so supportive of each other, questions and answers going on, really nice support. I just love it, and I always post the recipes in the files section of that page as well, so you can go in there and grab them. You can grab all the ones from the past that we've done. I think we're on recipe number 32 now, so we've got quite a few recipes that you can choose from there. So the request for this week was a savory snack that we can send to school, so it's school safe, it doesn't have nuts and things like that in it, and it's super tasty and got lots of amazing nutrition for our kiddos. So I know that most of you probably know that flax seeds are full of omega fatty acids, so that's an essential fatty acid that we don't tend to get enough of in our North American style diet. So flax is a great way to get those omega-3 fatty acids in. Hi Holly, thanks for watching, nice to see you. They are also a really great source of fiber. So we're going to use whole flax seeds today, whole raw flax seeds, and we're going to mill them in the blender so that they are as pure as they can be. When you buy the flax seeds already milled, which I've done in the past, but the thing about it is they tend to go rancid fairly quickly, so you're not getting all the health benefits, and it could actually work against you and end up being somewhat inflammatory in the body. So if you can get the whole flax seeds and then mill them yourself in a high-speed blender or food processor, it's even better. And these are just the President's Choice organic brand from Superstore, nothing fancy. So this is a cup. This is a really easy recipe to double as well, triple even, and make a really big batch and then keep it in the fridge or freezer. 1 cup of flax seeds goes into the blender, and then I have 2/3 of a cup of chia. You can use black chia or white chia, whatever you want. Again, the whole chia seed, and we're just gonna mill it here into the blender. Hi Chris, how's it going? All right, so let's just blitz this for a couple of minutes. Well, not even a couple of minutes, it doesn't take that long. And we'll just kind of get those made into a bit of a flour, and then we're gonna use that to make our bread. And that's all that's in it, really. It's amazing. it took, and now you've got a lovely flour there that we can work with. So I just take it out of the blender at this point, and do it in a bowl. I kind of like to work with it the old-fashioned way. You could certainly try doing the whole thing in your blender and see how it works. I know lots of people just do everything in the blender. I find it a bit of a challenge sometimes to get things to mix evenly that way. So just pour it out into a bowl. And then we are going to add in a little bit of flavor into this. So we've just got the flax and the chia so far. I like to put in some onion flakes, so dehydrated onion flakes, about a teaspoon. You could certainly do more or less, however you want to do it with the taste. I find that gives it a nice, really sort of umami flavor to it by throwing that in there. And then a little bit of thyme as well. I put in about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit more than that. And I don't usually tend to measure. I usually just do it with my hand. So I throw that in there, give it a little mix around so that you get that evenly dispersed throughout your flour. And then salt. Now, I like these to taste fairly salty, so I do a teaspoon and about a quarter. And that's what's in the recipe. You can certainly do less than that. I do not think that you need more than that. I think that's plenty even for the saltiest of dogs that really like the salty flavors. And just make sure that's good and mixed around. And then we're gonna throw in a good heaping tablespoon of ghee. If you're able to tolerate dairy, you could do butter. So if you're doing the GAPS diet and you're doing dairy, you could use butter in that as well, or you can use coconut oil. If you can't use any of those, you could try it with avocado oil. So about a teaspoon of avocado oil. Even olive oil might work. You just want a little bit of a fat in there, an extra saturated fat that's going to give it a nice texture. So I just kind of mix that around with my fork and get it combined in there. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to go in and add some water, warm water. And so that's going to melt the butter anyway, or the ghee. Now, it's really important that you use hot or warm water for this. The dough, the consistency will not come together if you use cold or even cool water. You need the hot water in order to kind of bring out the gummy texture of the ground flax. So let me just grab that. And the amount of water that you need to use is kind of going to depend on your climate and things a little bit. So in the recipe, I have put a cup and 2/3. So what I suggest is that you add it, excuse me, I have something in my eye, add it fairly slowly. So I usually start with about half a cup at a time, and just checking how to see what the consistency of your dough is as you go along. So you want it to form a nice ball, but still be kind of sticky because it will dry a little bit. And we're also going to add a little coconut flour into it as well in the end. So even different times when I make it, I find that it'll sometimes take more water than others, and I don't really know why that is. If it's maybe I'm not being as precise as I could be with my measurement when I'm doing my flax and my chia, so sometimes I've got a little bit more. So you can see this is already starting to get quite sticky, and I've only put in just over half a cup. So I'm going to go in with another half a cup. We're going to see where that gets us. Okay, so I think we just need the cup today, is all we need. So this is a loose ball, but I can form it into a little bit of a sticky ball here, and then we're going to add in a little bit of coconut flour into this. So again, depending on what kind of texture consistency you have going with your ground flax and chia will depend on how much coconut flour you need. So you don't want a really dry dough, but you want to be able to you want it to be sort of like Play-Doh in a way once you get there. So this is definitely too loose and too wet. Still, now it will start to form as your chia seeds and flax are absorbing flour. So sometimes it pays to just play with it a little bit. Who said you can't play with food? Play with the ball a little bit, really get it worked in there and see if it's gonna absorb a little bit more of the water. And I forgot to get myself a cloth to wipe my hands. Paper towel instead. Okay, so let's go in just with a little bit of coconut flour and a tablespoon at a time. So on the recipe I have 1 to 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. I don't have my tablespoon handy, so I'm going to estimate it. And again, coconut flour absorbs a lot of moisture, so you don't want to go in with a whole bunch at a time and then end up too dry. The beauty of it is it's not like a yeast bread where, you know, if you kind of overdo it, you're kind of lost and sunk and you got to start all over. With this, you can just add a little bit more water in if you need to and just kind of keep going until you achieve the texture and consistency that you're looking for. You also want to make sure when you're milling your seeds that you get them really well ground, so you have a fairly fine flour. I can feel in this one that I didn't mill it maybe quite long enough. It might have been a little bit better if I'd have gone a little longer, a little bit finer. So my breadsticks are going to be a little bit more coarse this time, but that's okay. They'll still have good flavor. So this is still a little bit wet. Now, if I wasn't on live streaming at the moment, I would probably leave this for 5 minutes or so and let it soak up a little bit more moisture. But for today's purposes, I'm going to add in just a little bit more coconut flour, and then we'll be able to work with it right away. Okay, so if you're doing this at home and it's still feeling a bit moist at that point, let it sit for 5 minutes on its own and see where it gets you. Go do something else in the kitchen, watch a video, and then come back to it. I think we're going to be okay with this though, even though we've added in the extra to rush it through. Okay, so we have a nice little ball of dough here. Now, I'm going to show you making the breadsticks. You certainly don't have to take all the time to do the breadsticks if you don't want to. So I'm going to show that to you, and then I'm going to show you just making like a bun or a mini loaf. So this is a part that you can get the kiddos involved with if they like to be in the kitchen with you. Mine doesn't anymore. Tiago! He won't answer me. He's listening, but he's not going to answer. So this part you can involve the kids in a little bit. It's just sort of like playing with Play-Doh. You get a good handful of dough and squish it together, and then just kind of rolling it out in your hands to make a little bit of a sausage shape. I'll do it on the parchment sometimes. You can also just squish it out flat. I don't know if you guys are able to see that on the video. I think you can. Just playing with it until you get it to about the length that you want. I don't find that I'm usually able to make these super long and skinny because it gets a little bit too fragile by that point. But you can get them out there a little bit. Let me move that, see if that's in the way. Okay, so I've just sort of squished it out to the length I want with my fingers, and then I can roll it a little bit to make it into that round shape. You could certainly do mini little flatbreads with it as well. Okay, and you've got a nice little stick there. I think you can see that on your screen. And so then I just place that on a nice parchment paper lined cookie sheet. And I like to grease it with a little bit of ghee. Again, butter or coconut oil would be fine. I like the flavor that the ghee gives. And just onto the cookie sheet like that. So if you were doing breadsticks, you would just keep going and fill up your pan. You might need more than one pan. The other thing that you can do is just to form these into balls and then press them into small little, almost like a bun. And they're tasty that way too. And it takes quite a lot less time to do that. Okay, so just a rough little bun. That's one other option. And then the other one is the little mini loaves that I like to make. They're kind of cute and kind of fun. So you basically just shape out a loaf with your hands. You could put it in a loaf tin if you have a little mini loaf tin. I don't have a mini one. I just have the really big ones. The only thing, you couldn't really get away with making this into a big loaf as it's not going to cook all the way through. It's still going to be super soft in the middle. So you can do mini loaves and that works, but a really big loaf, I don't think you'd get the right consistency in the middle unless you were to put it in a dehydrator and leave it for quite a while. Okay, so a little mini sort of loaf of bread there. There's one, and then I have enough dough to make another one. And it slices quite nicely. I'll show you what's left of the last loaf that we did. Okay, and I'm noticing now that this is starting to get a little bit drier, so I'm just gonna work it back in, get the fats warmed up again, because that's sometimes what happens is the dough sort of starts to cool, the fats cool down. Okay, and there's my other little loaf. That's kind of cuter. I like the shape of that one a little bit better, a little higher. So there you go. Those guys are gonna go into the oven at 325, and you're gonna bake them for about 15 minutes. If you're doing the sticks, then you'll wanna turn the stick about halfway through, 15 minutes, and then you're gonna cook for another 15 minutes. These little loaves, I find that they're better if I leave them in the oven for an extra 5 minutes or so. So half an hour to 35, 40 minutes at the most for the little loaves. And there you go, take them out of the oven, let them cool, and eat. So they're really yummy though if they're warm, so you don't have to let them cool down all the way. You can still slice them if they're warm or eat them. They taste delicious with a little bit of ghee or butter on them, a little olive oil, and balsamic vinegar. That tastes really nice. A little cashew cheese. What is going on with my eye? I don't want to rub it because I got flax all over my eye, my hands. So this is the little loaf, and as you can see, you can just slice it very nicely like a normal loaf, and it's kind of like a very dense kind of rye type bread when you cut it. It's quite moist in the middle still, but it's nice. It's not a really gummy texture. It's got a nice chew to it, and the outside's got a nice little bit of a crust. And it's got a really nice buttery flavor, partially from the ghee, but also because flax seeds have a really nutty sort of buttery flavor to them. So this is a really nice bread that I would even serve to people that are not gluten-free or paleo. If I was having people over for dinner or with little appetizers, anything like that. Thanksgiving's coming up, so why not whip up some of this, put it in your bread basket, instead of the stuff that's going to derail your gut health and your gut journey and what you're trying to accomplish for your kids. So that's it, you guys. It's super simple, so fast compared to making traditional bread and other things. It took us, what, I don't even know how long we've been on, 20 minutes maybe to do this. If you're making the individual breadsticks, of course, it's going to take you a little bit longer, but you know, really in the grand scheme of things, it's not a lot of time. So you can make them with your kids and you can enjoy them. They're great in the lunch kit. They work really well for breakfast as well. You can put little sandwich things on them, all kinds of things that you can do with this recipe. So I hope you'll let me know how you like it. Post your questions in the comments below. And remember that if you are part of the free community, you get a copy of the recipe so that you can keep it in your files and you don't have to sit and watch the video every time you want to make it and you can't remember how to do it. You just flip through and find your recipe and you've got it right there. So that's it, you guys. kidshealthrevolution.com. Give me your email address and I will send it to you. Make sure you join our wonderful private group on Facebook. All the support going on, and again, you can get all the archived recipes that are over there. Good stuff, and I'll be back next week with another recipe for you. I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you all soon. Hi, Nadine. Bye, Nadine. I hope you enjoyed the recipe. Talk soon.